Okay, this is going to be Chapter 3, Lesson 3, Part 2, Dividing Decimals by Decimals. Okay, so sometimes we have the smaller examples like 0.6 divided by 0.2, and you could make a number line with intervals of 0.2 until you get to 0.6, and you can see that you'd have 3 intervals of that. Just like here, 0.8 divided by 0.4. Make 2 groups of 0.4 until you get to 0.8. So each small interval represents 0.4. There are 2 intervals. You can do this again, 0.7 divided by 0.1, 7/10 divided by 1/10. So basically it's 7 divided by 1. Number 9, 0.6 divided by 0.3. Again, basically it's just 6 divided by 3, which of course is 2. This is a really quick review of that, but I don't recommend you trying to draw number lines for dividing decimals, especially when you get to higher ones, because it's just going to take you a lot of time. There's actual methods for it. So the first method here is to turn both of them into fractions like we did in the last lesson. So 0.27 is 27 hundredths divided by 0.03, which is 3 hundredths. So then you do key flip change, which would be 2,700 over 300. Basically, they canceled out all the zeros and had 27 divided by 3. And then they got 9. Okay, and the other method is to just do division here. So set it up as a division problem, 0.27 divided by 0.3. And then we're going to move our decimals out of the way. So here I'm moving 1, 2 spaces to the right. However many I move in the top, I have to move in the bottom. So 1, 2 spaces. So that's where this 27 divided by 3 comes from, because that's all I have left after I move my decimals. And 27 divided by 3, of course, is 9. So let's practice both methods with number 10. I have 0.64 divided by 0.08. 0.64 is 64 over 100. 0.08 is 8 over 100. Now I'm going to do keep flip change. Okay. And because I have 100 here, I can cancel those both out because they're diagonal from each other. And I just have 64 over 8. So 64 divided by 8 is 8. The other way here would have been 0.64, just simply divided by 0.08. I move my decimal 1, 2 times on top, so I do it twice on the bottom, and I'm left with 64 divided by 8. And again, 64 divided by 8 is 8. Whichever method you prefer, it's completely up to you. I am going to stick with method 2. So let's do 81 hundredths divided by 9 hundredths. So 0.81 divided by 0.09. I'm moving my decimal 2 spaces in the numerator or the dividend, and so I have to move it both times down here. So now I'm just left with 81 divided by 9, and my answer, of course, is 9. Try number 12 for me. Pause it and then come back and check your answer. You should have gotten 8 for number 12. Okay, many times you're going to see problems where you're not dividing by the same number of spaces. So you have 0.51 divided by 0.3. So in this case, that's 51 hundredths divided by 3 tenths. Okay, and that's totally okay. We can do the fraction way here, no problem. So again, I'm going to keep flip change. Oop, sorry, that's a 3, not a 30. So I would get 510 over 300. I can cancel out one of these zeros here. And now I have 51 over 30. So I don't want to leave it that way. So I need to do long division. 51 divided by 30 to see what I'm going to do here. 30 goes into 51 one time. And I'm going to subtract, and I have 21. Well, when I'm dividing decimals, I don't want to use a remainder. I want to keep my answer in decimal form. So I'm just going to add a decimal and bring down my 0. So now 30 goes into 210 7 times. I know this because 3 goes into 21 7 times. And that's just simply 210, and that's my answer. Notice I brought my decimal straight up here from where I added it into the dividend. So again, the answer is 1.7. So if I would have done it the way of method 2, I'd have 0.51 over 0.3. Again, I'm going to move my decimal here 2 times. And on the bottom, I have to move it 2 times as well. 1, 2. Well, I have this empty spot here, so I'm going to fill it in with that 0. And they're saying multiply both the numerator and denominator by 10. You don't need to do that step because we added in the 0. And then we already did the math up here. 51 divided by 30 to see that that's 1.7. Again, whichever method you like best, you pick. I'm going to stick with method 2. I think it's a little bit easier to just add any necessary zeros in. All right, so let's try 0.96 divided by 0.6. Again, I'm using method 2, 0.96 over 0.6. I'm moving my decimal over on top 1, 2 spaces. So I have to do the same with the bottom, 1, 2. So I have to fill in a 0 here. And now I'm going to do long division, 96 divided by 60, to determine what my answer is. So I know 60 would go into 96 one time. I subtract. I can't have a remainder, so I'm going to add a decimal and 1 0. I'll bring the decimal up for my quotient. So now I can bring the 0 down. 60 goes into 306 6 times. I know that because 6 goes into 36 6 times. So 60 times 6 is 360. I subtract, and I'm left with 0 now. So my final answer is 1.6. Please give number 16 a try while paused. Come back and check your work. So the answer you should have gotten for number 16 is 8.2. Okay, so that's it for chapter 3 in the videos. You do have lesson 3.4 left over. I'm not making any videos for that because those are just a bunch of real world or word problems where you're going to be required to divide fractions and then multiply and divide decimals. So just read through your questions carefully and to make sure what operation you should be doing. Some of them are one-step problems, some of them are two-step problems. And remember that you can always ask me for help in the classroom if you don't understand how to do some of the reteaches at home. And then you'll have some more practice work in class.